Welcome back to the Morning Kickoff Show. I'm your host, Matt Witt. We are back to recap another Minnesota Vikings fourth quarter last second victory. The Minnesota Vikings win over the Chicago Bears 29-22 in a dominant offensive performance. An excellent performance from Kirk Tober. Kirk Tober is back. Kirk leads the Minnesota Vikings to another game-winning drive. This time, he uses his legs, runs in for a touchdown, and runs for a first down. Minnesota Vikings multiple players had excellent days. Justin Jefferson continues to break records. Dalvin Cook has his best game of his career, of his season so far. Cam Dantzler setting up a breakout season for Dantzler. I mean, an excellent performance for the Minnesota Vikings to put them 4-1 in the division, put them 4-1 on the season, put them 3-0 in the division. The Minnesota Vikings now have a big lead in the NFC North after all other teams lost in this division. Obviously, the Chicago Bears losing yesterday, but on top of this, the New York Giants took care of the Green Bay Packers in London in a great start to what was an excellent Sunday for us Vikings fans. On top of this, the Lions lose to the New England Patriots. The Patriots take care of the Lions 29-0, giving the Vikings a significant lead in the NFC North. This is the first time the Vikings have started with this good of a record since 2016, where Sam Darnold was our quarterback and led us to a 5-0 start. He led us to a 5-0 start, and we ended up missing the playoffs. Hopefully this time's a different story, but right now, this offense, dominant performance. Kevin O'Connell was in the kitchen all week, cooking up excellent plays for this Minnesota Vikings to absolutely dominate the Chicago Bears defense. With Justin Jefferson once again proving why he's the number one receiver in the league, Kevin O'Connell has given Justin Jefferson yet again another opportunity to prove why he is the best receiver. And he did in this game with a career high 12 receptions, taking the lead for the most receiving yards in the NFL, breaking another Randy Moss record. He now has the most receiving yards in the first 3 seasons by any Minnesota Vikings. And it has only been 5 weeks. He is on track to break the all-time receiving record for most receiving yards in the first 3 seasons, as long as he gets over 50 receiving yards per game. And spoiler alerts, that's going to happen. Not only this, Kevin O'Connell making an unpredictable offense in this game. This has been the Minnesota Vikings offense that I wanted to see week in and week out. 429 yards of offense. Dominated in the time of possession. Finally, we're able to convert on third down. 80% third down efficiency. Just 1 punt in this game. And multiple people had career days in this game. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, excellent performance. 17 straight completions to start out the game. And if it wasn't for that one interception, he would have been perfect, as he was perfect in the first half. And like I say, 12 o'clock games at home against inferior opponents in October, We saw this coming. We did see it coming. Justin Jefferson, still excellent day. I don't know why the Chicago Bears are playing man-to-man coverage on Jefferson after both the Philadelphia Eagles and Detroit Lions showed that you can actually contain Justin Jefferson. And containing Justin Jefferson does not involve throwing Kyler Gordon, a rookie, on the best receiver in the league. Dalvin Cook, best day of his career so far, or best day of his season so far. Dalvin Cook should have had a hat trick of touchdowns on top of this. I mean, he should have a good day. The Bears have struggled the most against the run than any other team in the NFL so far this season. Dalvin Cook had open gaps all game long. Credit to this Minnesota Vikings moving company. The run set up the pass set up a run. It was an excellent offensive performance by the Minnesota Vikings. And it's easy to say that this game was not a staple win, and I completely understand why you believe that. In my opinion, it was, because the only reason why the Chicago Bears were held in this game was the fact that the Vikings gave them good field position too many times. We had 2 missed field goals, which gave them good field position. A terrible punt, once again, gave them good field position. A bad interception. I mean, yes, the Vikings made a lot of mistakes that obviously led to this game going to the fourth quarter, going to the final drive of the game that really they shouldn't have. But you can't blame this Minnesota Vikings offense. The reason why this is a staple win, in my opinion, is the fact that Kevin O'Connell really just showed how dominant this Vikings offense is. And I know every week is not going to be the same. Every week, Justin Jefferson is not going to be getting 12 receptions and 150 plus yards. As we've seen in the past, he can be contained by some defenses when double and triple teamed. But every week we should be able to be unpredictable. And that is where I really want to focus here, because this is what showed in this game. The Minnesota Vikings were unpredictable offense in this game. Justin Jefferson, 23-yard reception to Dalvin Cook across the field. Jalen Reagor was the guy they went to on 3rd and goal. Our tight ends were getting receptions on 3rd down. I mean, it just shows how defenses don't know what to do against the Minnesota Vikings. They can't. There are too many playmakers on this Minnesota Vikings offense. Irv Smith Jr., say what you want about Irv Smith Jr. He had a big day today, especially into the second half. And it's like, yes, defenses are going to be designed to stop Justin Jefferson because that's our focal point of an offense. Just because that's our focal point of an offense doesn't mean our offense can't be good when Justin Jefferson is not, when he's contained, I mean to say. We have too many playmakers in offense. KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen, still stud receivers who are going to continue to get bigger workloads if Jefferson does have the days like he did against the Detroit and Philadelphia Eagles, where he was double to triple team just about the entire game. So what's great to see in this game is the fact that the Vikings were so unpredictable in 3rd down in the red zone, which is exactly what the Vikings weren't in the past. So to say that this is not a staple win, I get your viewpoint. I get how people are still skeptical with the Minnesota Vikings. But the argument that we're the worst 4-1 team of all time is ridiculous, because last week we were saying we were the worst 3-1 team, or people were saying that. People who say that we were the worst 3-1 team definitely did not watch the Green Bay Packers, because, God, they did terrible. And it feels so good. Okay, back onto this. Minnesota Vikings, offensive performance, hats off. Give them credit where credit is due. Now let's take a look at other parts of this Minnesota Vikings team. Starting it off with this Minnesota Vikings defense. Yeah, Ed Donatell, yet again, has another bad day. Minnesota Vikings defense should not have been this bad against the Chicago Bears offense. We should not have struggled this much against the pass. Now, looking at it, obviously the Vikings were better at rushing the passer than they were in the past. Danielle Hunter was getting to the quarterback, Zadarius Smith were. So Danielle Hunter is back. Danielle Hunter had a great day. He was getting to the passer. He was stopping the run off the edge. You just have to use him properly. You have to use him hands in the dirt pass rusher. It's almost like the Mike Zimmer situation with Anthony Barr again. Anthony Barr was rushing the passer his first 2 seasons of his career. Now Mike Zimmer wanted to change what was working, and it didn't work. Surprise, surprise. That's not a good idea. Minnesota Vikings used Danielle Hunter how he was used in the past. I understand it's an entirely new defense, and yes, running a 3-4, he's not going to be the same type of edge rusher that he was under a Mike Zimmer defense. At the end of the day, please, if you're doing 3-man rushes, that's fine. Put Danielle Hunter as part of the 3-man rush. Is anybody going to complain that we have Harrison Phillips, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Danielle Hunter rushing the passer at a time? No, nobody's going to complain. You got Zadarius Smith, who can stand up as well. You got DJ Wanham, who's been great sideline to sideline player. So our pass rushing team is not really what I want to focus on here, because I believe that it will fix itself out once Ed Donatell wakes up. Into the secondary. It has been bad. This Minnesota Vikings secondary has been poor in coverage and poor in tackling all season long. And I'm not looking at Cam Dantzler here. Cam Dantzler, I'll give him credit where credit is due. He's having a breakout season. Respect to him. He could develop into a lockdown corner in the future. As for the rest of our secondary, we have given up too many explosive plays to every opposing team that we played. And our linebacker team, great. Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks have been great against the run. They were able to contain David Montgomery in this game, able to contain Khalil Herbert in this game. They were not able to stop Justin Fields, but that's fine. At the end of the day, when you're looking at the secondary, I really think this is going to be an issue all season long. I think this is the one part about the Minnesota Vikings team that we cannot fix. And I'm hoping it's just Ed Donatell, and I'm hoping he can just change the way he runs a defense, and this could fix everything on defense. I have little expectations that that's actually going to happen. I believe the Vikings will continue to improve against the run, continue to improve in rushing the passer. Into the secondary, I believe it's going to be an issue all season long, but I'm hoping that, of course, I am wrong, because I want to have a good defense. I want to have the Minnesota Vikings defense we had once in the past. It's just not that same Minnesota Vikings defense that we had in the past. We don't have that roster anymore, especially with a lot of guys who you see them aging. With Patrick Peterson and Harrison Smith, you definitely see them declining right now, and I'm going to say what it is because it's 100% true. Cam Bynum, Shannon Sullivan, and Cam Dantzler have all given up big-time plays this season as well. So I don't believe our secondary is going to improve a lot. I believe the Vikings, every other part of this team can be fixed. and we can be Super Bowl contenders this season if we are able to fix what our mistakes on offense, if we are able to fix our mistakes on the secondary, against the run, against the pass. I believe that this could be great going forward, but I believe the secondary is going to continue to stay an issue all season long. Looking at it for the special teams now for the Minnesota Vikings, Greg Joseph, over 2 on field goals from beyond 50 yards. And I mean, are we that surprised? Greg Joseph, 3 for 3 on extra point attempts. Again, Greg Joseph once again proved why he's not the future offer, the long-term option for the Minnesota Vikings. But at the end of the day, he's very reliable on field goals under 50 yards. Looking at Greg Joseph right here, I'll pull up his stats from the last 2 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings. He's been great on every field goal that's not been over 50 yards. When it's over 50 yards, he's only making a little bit over 50% of his field goals, which obviously you don't want to see from a kicker in the NFL. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. He's very reliable from under 50 yards, and I don't believe this should be this big of an issue for the Minnesota Vikings. And I think the Vikings should go for it on 4th down more. I think we should be more risky, especially when we're in opponent territory. If we're in opponent territory, we're at their 40-yard line, let's go for it. At the very least, if you don't get it, you're setting up in the same spot that if Greg Joseph misses a field goal, you're giving yourself another opportunity to find a player in the red zone. You're giving yourself another opportunity, a better opportunity for Greg Joseph to make a field goal. So I don't think this is going to be an issue. This is something we can work around. Just getting closer, getting Greg Joseph to be making those chip shot field goals, to be making those shorter field goals, because that's what he's great at. The end of the day, Vikings have to open their options at kicker, and they know this. They brought in Gabe Burchick to try to play for his role. Didn't win the roster spot. Greg Joseph won it once again, back-to-back years. We're going to obviously bring in new kickers to play. This is sometime down the line. Short term, Greg Joseph is going to be our starter all season. Ryan Wright had 1 punt in this game, and that was a terrible 15-yard punt, which set the Chicago Bears in great field position. Like I mentioned earlier, the Chicago Bears only were able to stay in this game because of the mistakes the Minnesota Vikings made. 2 missed field goals from Greg Joseph set the Bears in good field position. 1 terrible punt from Ryan Wright set the Bears in good field position. 1 bad interception from Kirk Cousins set the Bears in good field position. So I understand what people are saying, that this still is not the Minnesota Vikings staple win. I completely disagree. Minnesota Vikings dominated on all aspects of the game. We were better than the Bears on offense, defense, everywhere. It just came down to a few plays where we made mistakes, and they capitalized on our mistakes, and that's what held the Chicago Bears in the game until the final play of the game, where the Cam Dantzler stole the ball from Amir Smith-Marset to seal the victory for the Minnesota Vikings at home. ISM made a mistake. He was a player of the game for the Minnesota Vikings. So we were bad on all aspects of special teams. Return game, kicking game, punting game, bad. And that's what really held the Chicago Bears in the game. Our special teams, if you woke up and told me that they were going to be the worst part of the Minnesota Vikings team, I would have smacked you in your face, because this has been the best part of the Minnesota Vikings throughout the first 4 weeks. Now, after the 5 weeks, I think it's safe to say this Vikings offense cannot be stopped. Justin Jefferson may be contained, but this Vikings offense cannot be. And that's what we're going to expect to see going forward. Vikings player of the game, Kirk Cousins. It was tough because I wanted to give it to Justin Jefferson, obviously, but gotta give it to Kirk Cousins. I mean, he had an outstanding day. If it wasn't for that 1 interception, he would have been perfect. 78 completion percentage, 296 passing yards, a touchdown, an interception, and a rushing touchdown. Yet again, leads us to another victory. Kirk Cousins, this is the 3rd straight week where he all of a sudden has a chip on his shoulder down in the 4th quarter and leads us to a victory. 3rd straight week in a row, and you love to see it. Kirk Cousins, for some reason, 4th quarter Kirk Cousins, for some reason, Kirktober, don't understand, random 12 o'clock inferior opponents at home. It is so weird the circumstances this guy plays in, and is always good in these circumstances. So yes, I wanted to give it to Jefferson. I wanted to give it to Dantzler, especially because I don't give it to Dantzler ever. I don't believe he ever had a player of the game. Kirk Cousins, come on. He's the quarterback. Next week, the Minnesota Vikings will travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins, the 2-2 Dolphins. I think they're 2-3 now. Sunday, 12 o'clock on Fox. I don't know who will be starting quarterback for the Dolphins, but it would make a big difference depending on who is. Obviously, Teddy went down with the injury. Tua has suffered with the injury. So they were playing their 3rd string quarterback and got dominated by the Jets. But that aside, I mean, when Tua is playing for the Dolphins, they are arguably the best team in the entire AFC. They beat the Bills this season. They beat the Ravens. I mean, what else do you have to see from the Dolphins realistically? Tua has been great for the Dolphins. Is he going to play in this game? Don't know yet, but that's really going to decide on whether this game is going to be competitive or not. If Tua plays in this game and the weather conditions are great in Miami, which they should be, this is going to be such a fun offensive game to watch. These are two high-powered passing offenses with great run games on top of this. Two young head coaches, offensive-minded head coaches that would be going head-to-head. So I always cheer for teams being 100% healthy. I want to play every team 100% healthy. I want to be 100% healthy when playing every team. And if that is the case in this game, we are looking at such a fun, young team, two young teams going head to head, young playmakers, Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson. I mean, the list goes on. And the young head coaches, first-year head coaches that would be going head to head, young offensive-minded head coaches where the league is headed right now. Kevin O'Connell has shown his stripes. He's got his stripes in the league so far, leading us to a 4-1 start. Mike McDaniel has already earned respect from his entire locker room. I mean, such a fun game coming up. And I hope you all guys are all here to preview this game with us on Thursday. We will be streaming on Thursday, and we will be uploading on YouTube, Spotify, everywhere else. If you haven't subscribed to the show, make sure to do so. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate it. Thank you all. Minnesota Vikings, 4-1, future NFL champions in this season. Let me know what y'all think.